Hi guys, just want to thank Shook1LDN for sending me a link to this story which I had missed. This is from a couple of months ago, so this is in April, 30th of April. This is entitled, an article in the Evening Standard, and the title or the headline is "Corrupt Scotland Yard Officers in Drugs and Sex Inquiry. A West End police unit disbanded after claims of racism, bullying and violence." A Scotland Yard unit tasked with fighting crime in the West End is at the centre of an inquiry into allegations of bullying, racism, drug use and perverting the course of justice. Up to 11 officers face claims of wrongdoing stemming from an inquiry by a watchdog which was triggered by reports that an officer had sex with a woman at Charing Cross Police Station. Most of the officers were on the Met's West End Zone Impact Team, formed in 2014 to tackle nighttime crime and violence around Leicester Square and Piccadilly Circus, which has now been disbanded. The Independent Office for Police Conduct today announced that the scope of the original inquiry had widened considerably. It said analysis of phone messages between officers had uncovered evidence of a number of serious allegations involving the police team at Charing Cross. The allegations include violence towards women and taking advantage of vulnerable people, perverting the course of justice by deleting messages relevant to a criminal investigation, bullying and inappropriate behaviour towards other officers, including sending threatening and malicious messages, and racist, misogynistic and other discriminatory language and behaviour. There were also allegations officers used drugs such as steroids and failed to report wrongdoing by other officers. Unfortunately, that's pretty much standard, failing to report wrongdoing by other officers. That's standard throughout the entire police force. I think that's part of their training, in fairness. The claims emerged from the IOPC inquiry launched last year into an allegation that an officer had sex with a vulnerable woman in a room at Charing Cross Police Station, described some reports as a cell. Scotland Yard said today that 2 sergeants and 9 constables were under investigation. A former constable was also under investigation. The Met said 4 officers, 3 constables and a sergeant were on restricted duties and 1 constable had been suspended. The IOPC said today that the allegations related to officers predominantly from a unit known as the Impact Team and a small number of other officers primarily based at Charing Cross Police Station or West End Central. It added that the allegations revealed today did not apply to all officers. IOPC Regional Director Sal Nassim said there are very serious allegations and it is vital for public confidence that these are independently investigated. We are committed to using our enforcement powers to root out officers whose conduct undermines the public's confidence in policing and who should not be wearing the uniform. There is a lot of police officers, IOPC, who should not be wearing the uniform, or any uniform for that matter. And I still believe that there is a severe lack of psychological examinations before people are allowed to join the police force. I think that is and should be one of the toughest areas of consideration when it comes to police going through their training. I believe deeply that the police should have complex psychological examinations to see whether or not they are fit to be police officers. There is no indication that this is part of any wider teams within the station, but our overarching report will consider the wider culture and team. We would also like to hear from other officers at Charing Cross Station or the wider public who may be able to provide valuable information to our investigation. Scotland Yard said in a statement, the Met takes all allegations of wrongdoing extremely seriously and is fully cooperating with the IOPC investigation. The inappropriate behaviours in this matter appear to have been displayed through text messages and the use of social media apps. While the large majority of staff are responsible in their use of social media, the Met has issued guidance to all staff around the expectation that they and colleagues maintain the professional standards expected of them as a member of the Met at all times. Well, the police actually have guidelines in regards to using social media. I think it tells them things like to keep their personal profiles private and also not to comment on posts that they come across, with personal views, because that can be, their own personal views could go against the professional standards of the police. And so to eliminate that, they're actually told not to comment, although we all know that plenty of them do when they think they can get away with it. Officers and staff also have a duty to report, challenge and take action against colleagues where they believe those standards have fallen. Yet again, it's very well saying that officers and staff should report their colleagues, but the problem is IOPC and the Met and every other police force, who may have a police officer watching this. The problem is that there are so many bad cops. Okay, there's probably sort of 10 to 1, 10 bad cops for every one decent cop. So what happens when one decent cop turns around and challenges one of these bad cops, or gets the thought in their head that they're going to go and report them to a superior? Well, they fear for their job. That's what happens. And so rather than lose the job, because I've no doubt that every police, or nearly every police officer, joins the police force, with great intentions of having an impact on the community. Some officers continue to carry that plan of changing the community with them throughout their career, but many, many, many officers soon forget why they join the police force. And normal, decent police officers, for which there are just a few, are worried about speaking out against colleagues for fear of their job, for fear of losing their job and retaliation. It needs to be made easier for police officers to be able to pick up on behaviour that is not in line with their professional standards or illegal behaviour, and be able to make those complaints, maybe anonymously. I'm not entirely sure how it works in the police force, but if people were able to do it anonymously, maybe through an email address, or if the police set up some kind of website which doesn't record their login details, for example, and they can go and make anonymous reports about other officers. The force said the impact team was responsible for neighbourhood policing and problem solving focused on the nighttime economy around Leicester Square and Piccadilly. The team were disbanded when Westminster Police was restructured to become part of the Central West Basic Command Unit. So again, it's it just goes to show you how how professional standards and the police officer's oath goes out the window for a lot of police officers. Now, I would suggest that because this was a task group, as you're aware, if you have a group of people, if there is if there is a few people in there that are bad apples, then it's very easy for that rot to spread to other police officers when you have a group of people that are constantly working together. I think maybe one way to stop that perhaps would be to change people around a lot more and have different teams rather than have the same team working, all the time. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, it just goes to show you the kind of, the kind of stuff that's going on inside our police force that we rarely get to hear about, to be honest. But it is important to know. It is important to know that police officers can be like this and are like this. But the problem is it makes them hypocrites when they come to try and enforce the law upon the public. Anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Until next time.
Good night, all.